Welcome to the Idiot's Guide. I'm Mackie Hall, and a little while ago I did a piece on editable and radical retro type. You can see it right here, and in that piece I used a gradient to draw the lines across the type. When I did that, I thought to myself, that's pretty cool, but I also thought I can use the same feature to create some really interesting 3D type. And so with that in mind, I went back to the Appearance panel, and I did just that. This is what we're building today. Without further ado, let's get started. The first thing I want to mention is we are using the Essentials layout. To activate the Essentials layout, go to the top right-hand corner of your screen and select Essentials. Next, I want to mention that we're using Smart Guides. To activate Smart Guides, go to View, Smart Guides, or select Control U. Next thing I want to mention is that we're going to use the bottom of the page to share tips and tricks and to offer key command or hotkey recommendations. What we've got on screen right now is the art that we're going to be creating. With that in mind, I've pre-selected my colors from coolers.co. Check out that website. It is a good one. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit to make my color palette available. You'll notice that at the top left-hand corner of the artboard. I'm going to select that, copy it, and let's create a new document. Our new document will have a width of 1,000 points, a height of 1,000 points, a single artboard, and the RGB color mode. Now that our new document's created, I'm going to paste my color palette in. To copy and paste, all you need to do is go to Edit, Copy or Paste, or to copy, select Control C, and to paste, Control V. I'm going to zoom out slightly, and I'm going to take my color palette and drag it to the top left-hand corner above our artboard so it's easily accessible. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my rectangle tool, start at the top left-hand corner of my artboard, drag all the way down to the bottom right-hand corner. Once I've done that, I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool and click on my light blue. Once my light blue has been selected, I'm going to go to Object, Lock, Selection to lock that light blue color as my background. Let's get started with adding type. I'm going to grab my type tool, click anywhere on screen, and I'm going to write Surfs Up. I'll select all my type, increase the type size to 200 points, and then I'm going to change my character style to Vervel. If you don't have Vervel, you can get it for free at pixelsurplus.com. Just go to the website and do a search for Vervel. Once I've got my words on the page and my type selected, I'm going to grab my selection tool and I will align my type to the center of the page both horizontally and vertically. If you don't have your align elements visible on your top bar, all you need to do is go to Window, Align, or select Shift F7. Once I've got my type on the page, I'm going to concern myself with the gradient. The way I'll do that is I'll grab my rectangle tool and I'll click and create a 200 point by 200 point rectangle. Doesn't matter where on the page it is. This is just to create my gradient. Now that I've got that, I'm going to grab my gradient tool. I'll double click on it, and if my gradient window isn't open like it is here on the page, you can always find it by selecting Window, Gradient, or Control F9. Once my gradient window is open and my rectangle is selected, I'll click on the base gradient. Now that I've got that up, let's start editing our gradient. I'll start by working inside the gradient panel or window. First thing I'll do is I'll click on my white gradient. I'll select the eyedropper tool, and then what I'll do is I'll select my light orange. Once I've gotten that, I'll change the location to 40%. Next thing I'll do is I'll grab the gradient from the opposite end of the slider. I'll just drag it over a little bit. And with it selected and my eyedropper tool selected, I'll click on my darker orange. Once I've got my darker orange selected, I'm going to change the location of this gradient point to 40.1%. Notice what that does. It creates a sharp line instead of a smooth gradient. Next, I'll go back to my gradient slider and I'll click beneath it. That will create a new gradient point. From there, I'll change the location of my orange to 50%. After that, let's place our blue. The way we place our blue is, again, go directly beneath the gradient slider and click anywhere. Once that's been selected, all I need to do is make sure my eyedropper tool is selected and then click on my mid blue. Once that's been placed, I'll change the location of the mid blue to 50.1%. Notice again that eliminates the smooth gradient and introduces a sharp line. We're going to select a blue end placement now by clicking again beneath the gradient slider and changing the location to 60%. Last thing we want to do is bring the orange back into our gradient. Again, we'll click beneath our gradient slider, create a new point. With our eyedropper tool selected, we're going to click on our light orange or yellow. And then we're going to change this location to 60.1%. Again, this creates a nice lined effect within the gradient. Now that that's done, let's go ahead and save our gradient. The way we do that is we go to the drop-down menu right next to our gradient, we click on that, and we select the Add to Swatches button. Once we've done that, you'll notice in our swatches window, our new gradient appears. To rename our swatch, we'll deselect our rectangle by grabbing our selection tool, clicking anywhere on screen, then double-clicking on our swatch. From there, we'll rename it Surfs Up. Now, anytime you hover over it, you'll see the new name. Now that we've created our new gradient, we don't need our rectangle anymore. All we need to do is select it and delete it. Now let's start editing our type. First thing we'll do is we'll select our type, and then we will open our Appearance window. To do that, we go to Window, Appearance, or select Shift F6. This is where the magic happens. Now with our Appearance window selected, we're going to go to the bottom of our window and select Add New Fill. With our fill highlighted, all we need to do is click on our fill and select Surfs Up. Note it's been placed right in. Unfortunately, it's not at the angle we want. What we're going to do is we're going to rotate it 90 degrees by going back to our gradient window or panel, going to the rotate window, and writing 90. That's more like it. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to add the 3-dimension element to it. Here's how we do it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add a new fill. Notice that when we add our new fill, it contains the essential properties of our previous fill. That means it's still got the gradient running through the letters. Once we've got that, we'll select our new fill, and then we'll select Effects from the bottom of the menu. We'll click on that, we'll select Distort and Transform, and we'll select Transform. This is how we add depth to the type. In our transform effect, we're going to select Move 1 point horizontally, 1 point vertically. Next, I'll make 10 copies. We'll tab on over and notice, since we've got Preview selected, we instantly get depth. Before I move forward, I want to mention one thing. This is a simple web graphic. Web graphics typically display in 72 dots per inch. There are 72 points per inch as well. So if I want to create a basic web graphic, all I need to do is move my element by 1 point horizontally, 1 point vertically. However, if you want to create a piece with more resolution, for example, print, where you might be printing at 240 or 300 dots per inch, you might want to change the horizontal and vertical moves to 0.2 of a point. That will give you the approximate resolution of 300 dots per inch when you print it out. It also means you won't see any jagged lines. Once we're done with that, we'll select OK. Now note we've created the 3D element to it. However, we can't see the type very well. We're going to fix that by adding a new fill, but this time it's going to be black. To accomplish that, we're going to create a new fill. This time now, we're going to take our new fill, we're going to change the color to black. And once that's done, we're going to drag our new fill between our first and our third fills. That'll make it almost invisible. Now, with our black fill selected or still selected, we're going to select Effects, Distort and Transform, Transform. Just like in our previous effort at creating that 3D depth, once again, we're going to move our transform 1 point horizontally, 1 point vertically, and again, we're going to add 10 copies. We'll click OK. Now that we've got that 3D depth, all we need to do now is change the opacity of our type. We'll select our black layer once again. We'll click on opacity and we'll change the opacity to 50%. We'll deselect our element and there you go. We've got that 3D depth. Let's take it just a little bit further though. Let's go ahead and select Surfs Up one more time. This time around, we'll select our free transform tool. Once we've got that selected, we're going to hover over the right end of our type shape, hold our shift key, and drag up just slightly. That looks good just about there. Once we're done with that, we'll grab our selection tool, click anywhere on our shape, and we are done. All right, we could be done right now, but since we're on this, let's take it just one step further. What we want to do is we want to add a subhead here, and this is the really cool part about using the appearance panel. We can modify our type without having to create any new type shapes. To show that, I'm going to select Surfs Up, and I'm going to copy and paste my element in front. The way I do that is I can go Edit Copy, and then Edit Paste in front. I can also hit Control C and Control F. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my Shift key and arrow down beneath Surfs Up. Looks good right there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my type tool, select all of my type, and I will write Catch the Wave. Next, I'll grab my selection tool and click anywhere on the page to deselect Catch the Wave. Notice how easy it is to replicate that type once I've edited the type in the appearance panel. If I want to resize my type, check this out. I'm going to select my type. I'm going to double click on my scale tool and let's scale it down 25%. But before I do that, I want to make sure under Options, I've got Scale, Strokes, and Effects selected. Once I've done that, click OK. And notice if I zoom into my type, it has been scaled and so have all the strokes and effects. Looks good. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out again. I'll make the entire page visible. I'm going to grab my selection tool. I'm going to drag Catch the Wave directly underneath Surfs Up. That looks good just about there. Let's deselect. Let's set a color and get rid of the stroke and Catch the Wave to make that subhead just a little bit more visible. Let's zoom out so that our color palette's visible, and then let's reselect it. Once Catch the Wave has been reselected, let's go to our top fill. I'm going to select that. Let's grab the eyedropper tool, and let's click on our light orange. Notice straight away that our first fill has been replaced with the light orange. Let's do the same thing with our bottom fill. Let's select that. Still with our eyedropper tool selected, let's select our light orange. Once again, we've done that. Let's grab our selection tool, deselect by clicking anywhere on the page. Let's zoom to 0, and we are done. So there you have it. No, this isn't something that you're going to be using every day. You're only going to be using this once in a while, but that once in a while that you are going to use it is going to be pretty radical. I promise you that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. Otherwise, throw me a like. I'd really appreciate that. Otherwise, subscribe. I'm here waiting for you. We'll see you next time. See you.